So Stipe Miocic recently came out with a statement basically claiming guaranteed victory over Jon Jones. So now my first initial thought, people, was Stipe's crazy. He's a madman. But then you let the comments sink into your head a little bit. And I understand why he says this and where he's coming from. Now, do I agree? I'll get to that later on in the video. But if I'm thinking from Stipe's point of view, I'm not thinking of the fact that I'm 40 years old. Because let's be honest, I don't really feel Father Time hasn't really caught up with Stipe. At least there hasn't been any solidified proof that the last two opponents that he's fought have been Francis Ngannou and Daniel Cormier. And I think he beat DC more times than lost. And I think he went 1-1 with Francis Ngannou. And so when you really think about Stipe and what he's done over the course of the last couple of years, I wouldn't say that he's in the realm of washed up. He's still, from what we've seen, performing at a very, very high level. Now, if I was Stipe, I would have made that comment as well. Now, do I think that Stipe is going to dominate Jon Jones? Do I think he's going to beat Jon Jones? No, not at this point in time. I think that if we were to ask this question maybe 5 years ago, I would be more hesitant to say that Jon Jones would win that fight. But being that it's 2023, being that Stipe Miocic is 40 years old, granted that there isn't proof of his performances weighing on him, but he's 40, and Jon Jones is in a much more advantageous position right now. He's coming off of a win, a huge win, a dominant win over Cyril, and he looks like he hasn't lost a step. He looks extremely dangerous. He's in his prime still. There's no way that you can cut that Jon Jones has the advantage going into that fight. Besides the fact, in my opinion, that Stipe does have more heavyweight experience. He's used to fighting bigger guys, but Jon Jones, that's no slack on Jon Jones because Jon Jones is, I mean, in everyone's general consensus, the GOAT. And so he has all of the experience in the world that will carry over. It's not like 205ers or super small guys. He's still coming from an era of fighting guys who dropped to 205. Jon Jones fought pretty big light heavyweights. If you go to Quentin Rampage, he was a pretty decent size light heavyweight in my opinion. You go to Tiago, pretty big. Gustafson, pretty big. DC, although DC is shorter, I mean, he was big enough to be a heavyweight champion in both Strikeforce and the UFC. And so I think Stipe's comment it's not outrageous. However, I think it won't be accurate when the time comes. So if I had to predict that fight, I feel that Jon Jones is probably going to dominate in every area. Do I feel that he's going to dominate in the fashion that he did against Cyril? I don't believe so. I think that when it comes to Stipe Miocic, it doesn't get any bigger or better than Stipe at this point in time in the heavyweight division. I think Stipe is the most experienced, especially as a champion. And so he's definitely not a walk in the park. Now, here's my question. Let's just say the crazy chance happens and Stipe beats Jon Jones. Where does that place Stipe as far as the greatest of all time? If Stipe hands Jon Jones his first loss in the UFC, where does that place Stipe Miocic? What is there a possibility of Stipe stealing the GOAT title? Is there a possibility of us slipping Stipe into the GOAT talks at all? Because right now, as far as I can tell, not many of us are considering Stipe a GOAT. You know, you got Jon Jones in the way, you've got DC in the way, especially when it comes to that heavyweight, that heavyweight crown. But in my opinion, Stipe is probably, you know, probably. I'm just gonna say, I think Stipe is the GOAT of the heavyweight division. As a pure heavyweight, I think he's the GOAT. And so I think in order for Jon to really solidify himself as the GOAT of GOATs, he has to beat Stipe Miocic. He didn't get a chance to fight Francis. He didn't get it, unfortunately, when he was a light heavyweight. He didn't get a chance to fight Anthony Johnson. And so I don't want this to be another one of those fights that we didn't get a chance to see. And so now that we're entering the latter portions of Stipe's career, I think this fight needs to happen. And I think they said sometime June and July. And so I look forward to it. But I've got Jon winning probably somewhere in the third, fourth round. And I think by some sort of ground and pound or something like that. Comment down below what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.